The boarding gate was bustling with typical airport noise wheels clicking over polished floors, announcements echoing from unseen speakers, and the tired murmur of travelers waiting for their flights. At Gate 19 of Skybridge Airlines, everything looked standard until it wasn't. "Ma'am, I need to see your boarding pass again," said the gate agent, her voice tight and clipped as she scanned the screen in front of her without raising her eyes. Her tone wasn't polite, it was suspicious, dismissive. Jasmine Reed handed her phone over again, keeping her face neutral. "Seat 2A. Confirmed," she said with calm authority. There was no tremor in her voice, though every instinct inside her was on alert. She knew this tone. She'd heard it before. Jasmine was dressed in a navy pantsuit with subtle gold embroidery at the cuff, her natural curls swept back into a tight bun. She wore no name badge, no logo, nothing to indicate who she was or what she did. That was intentional. She didn't need to advertise power. She was power. The gate agent, whose badge read Taylor, barely acknowledged the phone screen before whispering something into a receiver beneath the counter. Moments later, a uniformed security officer approached. Without so much as an introduction, he took Jasmine by the arm. "Sir, I need you to let go of me," Jasmine said evenly, not yanking away but clearly resisting. "This is for security purposes, ma'am," the guard said, already steering her away from the gate. Around them, heads turned. Some passengers looked on with idle curiosity. Others gave knowing glances that said, "Of course." A few nodded subtly, as if this was a correction of some imbalance. As if a woman like Jasmine sitting in first class was the mistake being corrected. But then the terminal screens flickered once, then again, and suddenly went black. The Skybridge logo on the overhead displays froze. PA announcements cut off mid-sentence. Gate 19 and much of Terminal C dissolved into chaos. It wasn't an accident. Jasmine Reed was not just another woman traveling alone in a well-fitted suit. She was the founder and CEO of Novolite Systems, a global tech firm with 6,000 employees, $1.2 billion in annual revenue, and contracts spanning 7 countries. She controlled more private data and infrastructure than most heads of state. And today, she was en route to Singapore to finalize a $600 million AI systems agreement with one of Southeast Asia's largest development authorities. The disruption to her travel wasn't just inconvenient, it was deliberate, discriminatory, and ultimately catastrophic. But not for her. Her story began far from that terminal. Jasmine had been born and raised in East Chicago, the only daughter of a night shift nurse and a high school custodian. By age 12, she was teaching herself to code on an outdated PC donated to her school's library. By 16, she had built an app that helped local businesses automate their inventory, and she maintained it for free while tutoring classmates in math to save up for college application fees. She graduated from a public state college while juggling 2 jobs and founded Novolite Systems from her kitchen table. At 28, she turned down 3 venture capital offers, choosing instead to bootstrap her company until it became too powerful to ignore. Now 35, Jasmine was at the top of an industry dominated by men who still called her young lady in meetings. She had no need to prove herself. Her name alone sent executives scrambling for their PR teams. But today, as she stood beside a security officer gripping her arm like she was a criminal, she wasn't the CEO of anything to them. She was just another black woman being told, "Wait over there." When the officer released her in front of a kiosk marked Customer Services, Jasmine turned back toward the gate. "You'll need to wait here," the gate supervisor said, stepping forward with a clipboard. His name tag read Brent. "My boarding pass was verified. I checked in at the priority desk. I was cleared through security. Why am I being stopped?" "It's just a verification issue, ma'am," he said. "Standard protocol for premium passengers on international routes. I was screened already. This is an additional verification. First class on international flights is selective." "I paid for my seat," Jasmine said coolly. 2A. "Same one I always book. Check again. We'll need your passport and the card you used to purchase the ticket." She handed them over. He glanced at them for barely 2 seconds before asking for a company authorization form. "Excuse me," Jasmine said. "It's common when the purchase is made through a corporate account. I paid with my own card. That was on the receipt you just held in your hand." Brent didn't respond. Instead, he walked a few steps away, speaking in hushed tones to another agent. Meanwhile, the flight boarded behind them. One by one, business people in expensive suits and slacks were ushered through the jet bridge with nothing more than a nod. By the time Brent returned, the flight was taxiing. "I'm afraid the flight has already departed." "You prevented me from boarding," Jasmine said, still not raising her voice. "You detained me without cause." "I'm sorry you feel that way," Brent said. "We can rebook you on the next available flight. In economy." "Economy?" Jasmine blinked. "There are empty seats in first class." "There are not." "Then show me the seating manifest." Brent hesitated, then handed over a printed page. There were 3 unassigned seats in first class. "Lied," she said softly. "Discrimination," she said louder. "You're welcome to file a complaint through the proper channel." "I will," she replied. Then she took out her phone. "Camila," she said when her call connected. "Take Skybridge Airlines off our partner list for Singapore. Effective immediately." Camila was her chief operating officer. "Done," Camila said without missing a beat. "And call Dante at Equinox Capital. I want Plan Apollo initiated. Emergency board vote. Today." Skybridge Airlines had been in the final stages of securing a 5-year, $4.1 billion exclusive corporate travel agreement with Novolite and its subsidiaries. Jasmine had been the one to recommend them based on price and infrastructure. No longer. That wasn't all. Through her private investment group, she held a 26% share in Skybridge stock, more than any individual shareholder, including its founder. She hung up. Brent, still holding his clipboard like a shield, looked confused. "Security," he said. "Please remain here." But the security officers who flanked her no longer looked quite so certain. One of them leaned forward. "MS. Reed?" he asked. She turned to him, surprised by the respectful tone. "My daughter did a report on you for Black History Month," he said. "You're her hero." The power dynamic shifted in an instant. The terminal screens came back on. They no longer displayed delays. Instead, a breaking headline scrolled across every available screen. "Skybridge Airlines CEO under fire after discrimination incident against tech executive." Jasmine didn't smile. She simply raised an eyebrow. A moment later, her assistant Camila arrived at the terminal with Novolite's general counsel, 2 PR strategists, and a packet of documents. Every step was documented. Every slight, every irregular screening, every lie. Videos began circulating. News crews showed up. Passengers who'd witnessed the gate interaction began coming forward. Inside the Skybridge executive suite upstairs, the CEO, Richard Sloan, paled. He had known about the partnership with Novolite. He had not known Jasmine would be traveling alone, or that she'd be mistaken for an imposter and publicly humiliated, or that she had the leverage to break his company. He raced to the gate. "MS. Reed," he said breathlessly, extending his hand. "This is clearly a misunderstanding. I deeply apologize." Jasmine turned, stepping onto a nearby bench to address the crowd. "My name is Jasmine Reed. I am the founder and CEO of Novolite Systems. Today I was denied my seat, my dignity, and my rights not because of anything I did, but because of what I look like." The silence that followed was not empty, it was dense with realization. She continued, "Skybridge Airlines was being evaluated for a multi-billion-dollar contract with our firm. That contract is now off the table. And so is our investment." Gasps rippled through the room. "This isn't just about me. It's about the systemic disrespect too many have endured without consequence." The elderly black woman who was asked if her cane was a weapon. The South Asian professor detained for using a VPN. The Latino teenager accused of stealing headphones he brought on board. "You dismissed us quietly. But not anymore." Richard tried again. "We'll review policies, retrain staff." "I don't want your press release," Jasmine said. "I want accountability." The board was called into an emergency session in the lounge upstairs. Jasmine walked in with Camila and counsel in tow. The vote to suspend Richard passed with a majority. The internal investigation into gate protocol began immediately. Jasmine declined the offer to join their board but agreed to oversee policy reform as a third-party consultant. "You don't fix rot," she told the directors. "With statements. You fix it with courage." That evening, Gate 19 was closed for rebranding. The airline later announced that the concourse would be renamed the Jasmine Reed Concourse, not as an apology but as acknowledgement of what she changed. And Skybridge? They grounded their international fleet for 36 hours, reevaluated all frontline staff, and issued public apologies across all major outlets. But the apology wasn't the story. The story was the woman who was told to stand aside and chose, instead, to stand taller.